Right, everyone. Thank you, and welcome to episode 2 of Heerbz and Co. I am joined by a very good friend of mine, architect, soon to be PhD student, and just tremendous personality, Murty ALwazny. Did I pronounce that right, Murty?
You pronounced it correctly.
How's it going,
How
buddy?
are you? Good, all good.
Yeah, not too bad. Although I think you're better because you're chilling in a cabin right now in Norway, right?
Yeah, we are just a weekend getaway
Yeah.
in a cabin with a little snow and
Meanwhile,
skiing.
meanwhile, we've got like lockdowns here and construction. So no, it's
Yeah,
good. It's good you've gone to the countryside, and that's one thing actually. I have visited you before, and I really wanted to go see the fjords and just all the
yeah,
nature of Norway. I mean, I loved Oslo. I think it's a tremendous city, and I definitely feel like I missed out by not living there for a few months. But
yeah.
tell me what's it been like living there? Like I want to hear Oslo from your point of view.
Oslo. I moved here 2015. Yeah, that was summer 2015. So finished studying in London, and I just like, yeah,
Which is where we met
moved over
basically.
here. Yeah, that was all good days.
Definitely
London.
great days.
Yeah.
So
Um,
just for everyone to know, Murty, can you give us a bit about your background? Like I've given you a tiny intro, but I want to know more about how you got into the field and where you
yeah.
grew up and all.
So I'm a Dutch-born Iraqi that moved to London to study and then moved to Oslo. So I've been around Europe quite like
Yeah.
yeah, all over the place to be honest. And I don't know if I've chosen the easiest path to for careers or I don't know. It was fun. So I've done a little
We all have
traveling or
questioned our
moving
career
on.
moves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but now I'm based in Oslo happily. I'm working here, and I also studied here as well, done my masters. So I'm a full qualified architect since 2018. So not that long, but it feels very long.
It's definitely been a long road because we've been
Mm,
friends for a good few years now, and I
yeah,
mean the struggle, which I know some people are definitely going through right now, and some people have just finished that struggle of like managing, especially when you get later on, and a lot of your friends start their careers, and you're still studying, and it's just when, which is
yeah,
something I want to dive into, by the way, managing workload, specifically in the industry that you're in and in the profession I've
yeah,
chosen and many other professions. Workload, I mean, can really cause some mental health issues. But before I dive into that, which is what I want to break into later, um, I was keen on knowing, and I've got my experiences, but I mostly grew up in the Middle East, whereas you
yeah.
mostly grew up in Europe. So I was keen on knowing about your experiences in growing up in Europe and living in Scandinavia as a Middle Eastern person. Has there been any differences, any issues, any problems you've had?
Uh, the things you have to maybe know about Oslo. Oslo is very small. Like, I mean, Norway in general doesn't have a lot of population. It's not really high. And, and Norway is quite a wealthy country in in that kind of sense, where most of the people that I've met here that are Middle Eastern or have a different kind of background, they do live in a quite a comfortable lifestyle. So I don't think there's always going to be tension between racism and race and all of that. But I think the fact that the country is so wealthy and there's job opportunities and there is opportunities for people to actually make a living, buy a flat, and I think it relaxes people a bit more and it doesn't create that much tension. Saying this, and I have to be very careful so when saying this, there is always going to be tension with different backgrounds or different cultures when you come into one place and another. And of course, you had this a lot when you say to them, "Oh, where are you from? You're from the Netherlands," and then they give you that little look. Yeah, but are you from the Netherlands? Like, they're just
I've
waiting
been
for
there too
that
many
little
times.
extra. Yeah, I mean, I think in one way maybe the sad thing maybe both of us maybe got used to it, to the fact that we just yeah it is what it is, and you just like say it. And and it's like choosing your battles as well. Do you want to choose? You want to use so much energy on kind of uh, well, using your whole life to prove people wrong, or like in that kind of sense. There's always going to be people with such short-minded, and they don't gonna accept you how you are, and that's super fine with me.
Yeah,
And if you don't accept who I am or accept where I'm from, yeah, that's your. I mean, like, I'm not gonna waste my energy to be able, and that's what they actually want. They drive through that
they
negativity or that
feed off
rage.
that negativity. Yeah,
Oh
they need
God,
it.
you have
They
to
need it.
see
I
it.
know those
Yes,
people, man.
and I mean, like, as a person from, like, you have to be. I mean, it's very difficult as well sometimes to give, like, just turn around, or because you feel like you just want to stand there and just like make a big deal out of it. But I mean,
Yeah, yeah, for
choosing
sure.
your battle. That's exactly what it is, and
It's an interesting one as
prioritize.
well because where we have differences as much as we have similarities is um, all you've known growing up is Holland. Of course, you're truly Arab, Middle Eastern, but I mean your exposure has been to Holland growing up. That's it. So you would fall in the European category more,
Yeah,
whereas obviously I did live in Iran. I did live in Dubai. I
yeah,
have been around that Middle East culture more, so I identify more with that. That's
mhm,
not saying that you're not true to your roots, because since I've met you, Devon, one of the reasons we bonded so well is because of the roots that we have. But
yeah,
it's still interesting how in nowadays, like you said, people feed off the energy. Some people, it's a bit of a power move for them, where they
mhm,
do want to kind of separate that and say, no, no, but where are you from really? And
yeah,
that it's caused a lot of issues in the workplace. I know many people that have complained. I personally have not experienced it. If I'm being totally honest, maybe I have experienced it and I haven't noticed it. It's been the least concerning thing for me. Whereas my
exactly.
focus in the workplace has been how good of a job can I do? If your job is good enough, no matter what race you're from or whatever background you come from, it's unquestionable that they can't deny you. Maybe once, twice in the long run, you can't be denied in
Yeah,
terms of what you want to do, and it's been proven throughout history. Look at all the African American athletes in the U.S., for example, that dealt with racism. I mean, Muhammad Ali, man, like winning a gold medal, and then after winning a gold medal for the US, going and sitting in a restaurant and they tell him he can't dine there. That is ridiculous. But everything that all these athletes have overcome, Muhammad Ali prevailed, and look at, may he rest in peace, by the way. Look at the movement he caused, and not just him, but all the other athletes that have dealt with some form of. Again, I love how I'm comparing us to athletes, by the
yeah, exactly.
way.
And the best athletes ever.
Yeah, but people that have dealt with some form of adversity, it's if you focus on the end goal and if you look past it, as much as it can be difficult, historically it's been proven that you do make a difference and you do reach where you want to reach in the end. That's my
Yeah.
personal kind of theory on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is like not the first time we actually had this kind of conversations, because we have this, like, we meet quite a lot, like at least once a year before this COVID thing, and we travel and see each other quite a lot, and we have this kind of discussions. And I think all, like me, you, and all our kind of friends are quite different and from different background and different cultures. But we also don't look, maybe you just said now you never experienced that work, or you never really paid attention to it, is
Yeah.
because I think we're also a type of person that really don't care in that kind of sense, or maybe it comes by you, and someone tried to provoke you and you don't bite in that kind of sense.
Yeah.
And there's other people that really are sensitive in that kind of sense, and that's
Absolutely.
where the difference can be.
Yeah.
And uh, it's I think it's a difficult, and I mean, like, in an ideal world, and would be that everyone respects everyone else and doesn't do anything in that kind of sense. But sadly, we're not, and I don't think we are made to be perfect and to be ideal. And I think this is always going to happen. And I think, I mean, like, you could see history is getting better and better and better. And I think
1%,
it
right?
gets,
1% every
yeah.
time.
And we just have to do what we have to do to get it better. And it's just generations, I guess. Like,
Yeah. That's
teach
just
them.
reminded me, by the way, a quick shout out to our international group of friends that we were very, very close, although brothers, I would call them. So shout out
Yeah,
Manuel, shout out Bobby, shout out Darivex. Who am I
yeah.
missing? Is
Ah,
that it?
that's the there's loads more. But yeah, yeah. I saw the podcast for your first one with Darius.
Yeah, it was
That
a
was,
really good one.
I
We're
really
definitely going to do
enjoyed it.
more.
I really, really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you enjoyed
Yeah,
it. Definitely more to come. So,
yeah.
moving on to the next topic, let's talk about your craft, what you're really good at, and what I know for a fact you've been killing it in the industry is architecture. Give us
Mm.
like a glimpse of. You mentioned one thing before we start recording is portfolio in your industry versus my industry. So, why don't you kick that off for us?
Yeah. I'll go one step a little bit back before
Sure.
starting with portfolio, and I want to talk so when I moved here 2015, I applied for a few jobs, and it wasn't super successful. So I said, okay, I gave myself 6 months to find like a career job with what I had from London. It wasn't the most successful time, but then I said, okay, then I'm gonna study. I'm not gonna do my masters, and I'm gonna learn education and get into the network in that kind of sense through schools. Because I think I really do believe university schools are the best network, because over there you find out who is who and what is what and which companies are the best and which are not. So when I was studying my masters, I 2 years, uh, and I focused really on a topic which is architecture and healthcare, where I started off, which is like a topic that's quite not a lot of people have really talked about it yet, and it's maybe a difficult bit to dive in. 2 years of long nights and a
Wow.
lot of kind of I failed quite a lot actually in that kind of uh, paper itself.
Yeah.
But in the end, I came up with a really good paper, and my master was a super success, and I won 2 awards in Norway, uh, and I got recognized in, in Norway in the architecture world. And one of the main people that recognized me and gave me an award was a place called Statsbygg, and the the governmental uh, organization that gives out the projects to the architect firms, and they do from hospitals to universities to schools to council houses to urban planning from and they are the one that recommended me to the company that I'm working now, which is called Ratio. And they have an amazing portfolio and a really good one. And they focus on hospitals, and they have done a lot of hospitals all around the world. And I was like, yes, that's the place that I want to work at. And I've been working there for since 2018, and enjoy it, love it, and I'm learning every single day, and
That's so important,
very
man.
happy, very, very happy there. But portfolios, and when I started, and this is just a recent, uh, the, like me knowing this, it's a big. I always thought, okay, big companies that have big portfolios, okay, they are always secure. They are okay. The bigger the portfolio they have, inside the portfolio, the bigger project they have, that is super secure. Until a recent incident at work where we have like maybe 7 or 8 massive projects. We're talking about 7,000, 8,000 square meter uh, buildings, and we lost one project, which was quite a sad thing. And in within 2 weeks, we had 10 of our architects that had to be shifted around into the office and to be placed into other projects, so our company could go and be, I mean, they could survive for 6 7 months until we could find other projects.
Wow.
And our yeah and our and I thought this should not be a problem. We have only big projects, so we just put them wherever. But then I got into like companies or like architecture firms could not survive with only big projects.
Yeah.
And our portfolio has to be like, and I don't know how it is with you, but I mean, I think it's very important to have also the small projects that could support a whole company in that kind of sense. And this comes, and they read a book and they were talking about this jar concept where you have how to fill a jar quite successful or in the most effective way. And if you think about that, if you just fill it up with big stones, and those big stones are referred to uh, big projects in a portfolio, and then you think, okay, that's full, but it's not. You need like the sand that goes in between those big stones when you have it in the jar, and then you have the liquid. So all of those small projects, that is a full portfolio. And and I do agree, if you have a big project in your portfolio or two, it's easier to be a successful portfolio when you have like smaller projects coming in than maybe building it from small projects to bigger projects. But that's also something that I'm very interesting to find out, and knowing how to build a good portfolio and a successful portfolio in a in a company or an organization or in a firm or something like that. Because I think the term portfolio, it's the collection of the work, or actually a collection of your knowledge in that kind of sense.
Yeah. So
Um,
it's very similar on this side, but uh, portfolio for us is basically a collection. It's a collection of your investments. A couple of things on what you were saying, which I really love, the jar concept. I have a counter to the jar concept, or maybe something that can go with it actually, is the 80-20 rule, which you probably are aware of. So yes, I agree with you. It's great to have these smaller projects. I definitely don't think so. What you said about the larger projects, that instantly made me think in terms of investing, diversification. If I
mm,
just focus on, we have like value stocks, which tend to be the larger companies, and then we have growth stocks, the smaller companies that are risky, that are growing like crazy. If I was to just focus on value stocks, who knows, something can happen, a certain company might go bust. But if I also put all my money into a growth stock, someone like a company like Neo, which I am currently invested in, EV market, they're doing really well, but I mean they're on the rise, they're killing it. If something, there's also more risk involved because they're still loss making. So it's good to diversify. But I was reading the book, which I'm almost done with, A Random Walk Down Wall Street, and it's one of the best investing books I've ever read. I highly recommend everyone to read it. And there's a chapter which it discusses that it's not so much by diversifying between different companies that you get better returns in the long run, but it's diversifying between different asset classes. So you have your stocks, you have your bonds, you have your real estate. That by diversifying, by that being included in your portfolio, that's when you get the best results over a long term of time.
yeah,
So that's portfolio for us. But quickly before we go back, the 80-20 rule is focusing, because we can have too many clients as well. We can have a lot of clients that, and we've had this at our company, where you've got clients that don't necessarily give you the majority of your income, but they require the most work. So the 80-20 rule, to really butcher it and dumb it down in a way, it's just to focus on the 20% of your clients that give you 80% of your income. But
yeah,
that's where it leads more into efficiency, I guess. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah. I- I- it's very difficult because as I said, I dived into the concept of portfolio and how to build it or what it is. It's quite new for me as well.
Yeah.
But and I talked about in investment, they say, and you have to tell me if this is right or wrong in that kind of sense. But what makes more? Where could you bill your hours more? Is it on smaller projects or is it on bigger projects? And in my in architecture term or in architecture industry, we have quite a big hours that we have that we could bill to big projects or governmental projects. But but they are not always the most profit because they are a lot of hours. So we have to put our prices down in that kind of sense.
Yeah.
But the most profit that we make in our hours is actually the smaller projects, which are less hours. we're talking about maybe a house of 100 hours or 150 hours that we use to draw or to design or something like that. The hourly rate of that one is much higher, maybe sometimes double or triple than the hourly rate that we give to, for example, a governmental project, which is like we talk about tens of thousands of hours that we have to
That's
give them.
interesting. Yeah, that's quite
So,
interesting.
so in I don't know how that is. Do you like in finance or billing hours? How does that all work? Do you have all fixed rate, or do you kind of and when you say that you focus on the 20% of your clients that gives you 80% interest, so that means it's not necessarily that the biggest clients or the biggest companies that give you that much of profit. It could
True,
be
true, very
that
true.
20% could be also the most smallest
Absolutely agreed. Yeah.
companies.
Yeah, it wasn't the largest companies necessarily that gave us the
No.
largest amount of revenue. It might have been the
Mm,
mid-sized ones, but
yeah.
with us, it's more, again, it varies. I mean, a law firm might be different. With us, we have certain tiers of additional like hourly fees. Like I have my own rate.
Exactly like us.
A manager would have their own rate. So it totally depends on who's doing the hourly work. Me being
Yeah.
as lucky as I am, and working in the finance function of the company, I only get a limited portion of time
Mm,
facing clients. And as of recently, because we got acquired by a larger company, we've actually moved over all of our clients, the clients that we offer accounting to the
yeah.
larger group. So now I mainly deal with the finance of the company, but it was in tiers beforehand. So
Yeah.
the 80/20, I do agree with you because I mean, we've had some clients where when I pulled some info, and because we track how much time gets spent per client, as I'm
Mm,
sure
yeah.
you do as well.
Yeah.
When you actually pull the info out and you realize, okay, we're getting paid this much by this client, but look at the amount of hours we're putting in versus this client, which we're putting barely any time for, that pays us double the amount that this larger client does.
Mm,
So in that sense, yeah, it's totally about the same thing,
yeah.
just in different industries.
Yeah. And then this is what comes into what is quite fascinating. What's happening in the situation at my firm at the moment is that we we only have been focusing, or this is like a new management that's getting involved in all of that. They have been only focused on mega projects, which is sounds amazing, and they are very relevant. But in kind of the business term, in that kind of sense, or when a big project goes down, they don't bring you that much money to be able to survive for 6 months until you get another project, which
Yeah.
is kind of scary thing. So I'm also part of this board now that we are trying to redevelop this portfolio and do competitions to win like this medium size to small size project where we could fill into our portfolio that makes it a bit more, yeah, sustainable, I guess, and more kind of that we are not so vulnerable as we were. Actually, we are a bit now. It's balancing out now because we do have like a 3 months kind of buffer system where we could like try to find something and put our employees, but for a company of 70 people and having that kind of a 3 months only is a bit it's a scary thing, especially with
Yeah,
those times now with COVID and everything. So it's
I can
everyone's a bit
imagine.
on edge.
Oh
Hey,
man, I definitely feel you because I mean, everyone knows. If you don't, everyone knows. I mean, I come from the accounting background, but everyone knows the pain that architects and medical students go through when they get educated for this field. So it's a known thing. And one of my, I mean, probably my closest friend ever, she's also a very talented architect, and I've been aware of the hours that's been spent with no sleep and whatnot, working on these things. So then to go and to finally reach the point of applying it in a working environment, that must be rewarding, no? To say, okay, look, all those freaking hours that I was killing myself for, now I'm
yeah,
getting to do what I love.
yeah. I mean, it's I'm very happy where I am, and I'm very happy with the career choice I've made, and I could see myself doing this for a very long time. Uh,
That's a powerful thing.
and I've worked super hard, and as I said, I chose to move to another country. I, as I said, didn't really choose the most maybe sensible, maybe, or idea thing to do. Just graduating from university and then moving to a whole new country, learning a whole new language, finding out what is what. We didn't know nothing about architecture. I didn't know nothing who is what and how the system works and everything. But it worked out well, I guess. As I said, um, it made it, I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Would I go through it again? Maybe not this exactly same way, but but it's done now, and it's something
Hindsight
that
is
I could go
2020.
with. Exactly.
Hindsight is 2020, man. But one really important thing, by the way, and we've both again experienced this. So one key thing which I do love about you, and I think it's super valuable to anyone listening to this or watching this to understand, is I talk about this a lot. I used to talk about this a lot, is getting out of your comfort zone and like people's perspective on failure. I know at some point throughout the university process in London, you experienced big failure. In my early second year, I experienced failure as well in different forms. Do you not
Yeah,
feel, I mean, the drive that you get, the motivation that you get, it's all depending on how you approach it. Once you've
yeah,
experienced the low of the low, the drive that you get is just unreal. I just felt like I was possessed afterwards. It's like you get tunnel vision. You're like, this is what I want to achieve. This is
yeah,
what I want to do. And nothing else matters. Everything else gets blurred out. I feel like you experience this, Bobby experiences, our friend Darius, Emmanuel, like they've all experienced this kind of tunnel vision, but it always tends to be after some form of setback, which people just get that extra drive. That's why,
yeah,
before you explain it, that's why it's very important. And I keep telling everyone, fail forward. If you're gonna fail, don't, the real failure is not doing something. Okay.
exactly.
But fail forward every time. If you fall down and if you fall like if you do 1% better than you did last time, that's an improvement, because those 1% add up to freaking
Yeah,
10% after 10 months.
yeah. Man, this is the best thing, and I always like remember that we always talk about, and it's just it's so good to actually kind of not forget it in one way, and because it's
Yeah.
very easy to say, okay, I want this, I want it out of my memory, no more, don't want to think about this negativity or something. But you know what, I sit down and I think about it, and I kind of very briefly, it's my third year, like final year of my bachelor at London. I dropped so low. I got into so much like stuff that I didn't. I graduated. I got my certificate. I got my bachelor, but I didn't go to my ceremony.
Yeah.
And because I hated I hate myself in that kind of sense of what happened over there, and I also and but to be honest, like now looking back to it, I'm super happy that it actually happened,
Yeah.
because at that point it was for me, I'm not staying in the UK anymore.
Yeah.
And when the opportunity came to move to Oslo, I took it. And it was that incident that made me actually come over here, which is a very, 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 like, it was kind of a key thing for me to kind of
Yeah.
make that decision, because I did have my girlfriend that is Norwegian and she was already living here, but it was not sure for me that it was like the right move to do. But that incident really kind of said, okay, I need to get out of here. I need to kind of refresh.
It's
I need to do
admirable,
it.
man. That's why I say perspective is everything. It, no matter, like, people experience failures in different ways, it's
Yeah,
a range of things. But one thing that's been proven to me, and some people might blame it on my stupidity of like taking things head on, it's like, oh, you know what, I feel like boxing this weekend. But it I feel like by putting yourself out there enough, surely there's going to be opportunities that you're going to miss and you're going to suck at. But as long as you're not afraid and you don't give a shit what anyone thinks, and you just get that tunnel vision and say, look, this is what I want to do, and there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing that.
no,
The rest, like, it just becomes a step-by-step process of you reaching where you're at. I mean, look at where you're at. I'm incredibly proud of what you've achieved. I'm proud of our group for everything
yeah,
they've achieved. It's how you take on things, and that's actually going to lead me to the next point, is you've decided to take on the next challenge, which is you're going to start your PhD. How do you feel about that? And are you freaking crazy?
Uh, yeah, this PhD. So this is I got an email just before just before New Year's, actually, like 2 3 months before, and I was like, and it was my old professor at in Oslo, and he was like, we have a position opened in a PhD, and he was like, I think you should write a proposal, and you should write it according to your master thesis, which is architecture and dementia, and how we could improve architecture with like healthcare in that kind of sense. Um, and I was like, really, I'm such in a good position at the moment. I'm happy with work. I don't like don't want it, but I was like, this is a good opportunity. If my professor is just telling me to do this, and he really thinks it's gonna be a good a good few years, and I was like, yeah, sure, let me write it down. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll go through the process and see it. And yeah, just in the new year. So yes, you start in September, October, writing a PhD. But I did actually put my own terms into this one because I didn't want it to be a fully academic PhD. So it's going to be a more practical as well.
Nice.
So um, uh, I put a proposal in through that I could combine my PhD on actually ongoing hospital that is being built in Oslo. So my PhD will be focused on my academic theory, research, analysis, the papers that I will be writing about topics according to dementia and architecture, and have a platform which is within my firm as well, the new hospital, how we could implement those research into a conceptual and architectural way. So that will be the kind of twist on it, or kind of a more practice
I
artistic
like that.
PhD. And I think in that kind of sense, I don't lose on the workload, and I don't lose on this kind of work environment. And I'm still kind of, yeah, I think it makes the project also much richer. And I think my company is super positive, and they're very supportive, and they are gonna help out.
That's amazing, man.
Uh, so yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting and hard few years where
You're just going to give up some sleep, but you've become professional at giving up sleep after
God,
having a baby, which is
oh,
the next bit I want to dive into. You are also a father, so
yes,
let's just put everything into perspective. You're the first one out of our group to become a dad.
yeah,
Gave birth. Well, you didn't give birth, but your lovely
yeah,
girlfriend gave birth to a beautiful fiance, rather, to a
yeah,
beautiful son, which we all love and can't wait to see.
yeah,
But so the massive architecture workload, the studies that you have, and the studies you're gonna have, you've currently stopped your studies and you finish your masters, but all together with being a dad, that's
yeah.
some next level shit workload. I know you're not the only one. There's other people in the world that do this, but
No,
question is, how do you deal with it so far? Because I know you've barely slept in definitely the first year.
yeah. I mean, how did we deal with it? I mean, that first year is such a blur, to be honest. I mean, we talk about it. It's like we can't even remember what we done or how it was. I don't think it's just because we were so tired, and so it was hard. But it's like we've been talking, like, I don't know, about our careers and how we studied and all of that, and we all think, oh, how rewarding that is. But I think it's the most having a son is the most rewarding thing. I've
Wow,
It's the best thing ever. It's the best thing ever that I've ever done.
that's
Uh,
amazing to hear.
yeah, he just here he
Hello.
is,
Oh my
just
god, he's
running up,
grown up so
hurting
much.
his. Yeah, no, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. Um,
So
so I actually described it as to my friends as unlocking the next level of love. I think he wants to
it's
join in.
yeah, I think he does. Yeah,
But you can take a
yeah,
second if you want. We're back.
yeah,
Yes, I was saying,
yeah,
I spoke to my friends, and from what I've heard, and someone did confirm it to me, another couple that I really love, really, really good friends of mine. They also had their first kid, beautiful girl, and the first thing they messaged me saying is like, new level of love unlocked. So it's very interesting.
exactly.
I'm definitely looking forward to that day when it does come round. But it's very assuring for me to hear that from you, and how, like, at the moment, like, for example, my mindset is definitely okay. Uh, what am I going to achieve in my career? What places am I going to visit? What am I going to do? And it's good to have some other goals that you're not aware of that you're going to have yet. But then once they do arrive, suddenly they cut in line in
Yeah,
front of everyone else. That's the most important thing to you.
you're never ready for it. I mean, like you are. I it's hard. It's hard work, but it's the most rewarding work. And when you come from work or you're studying and you have your son or daughter coming into the door and just like a smile, you just forget every single little thing that happened at that
Nice.
day. And and to be honest, you'd be super efficient as well, to be honest, because you know you have this time that you have to get this time of work done. And then, yeah, get it done. I mean, and evenings you have, and it's just, and I'm super happy that I have a son now at this age where I have the energy to do it and not wait until like maybe older. And I do recommend that.
Yeah.
And this is every parent that says that, just to let other people skip
I'll
fall
make sure
into
my
the
wife
trap.
doesn't listen. I'll make sure my wife doesn't listen to this part.
I'm sure Sylvia's been sending her emails or text messages already about it. So it's like that. Yeah,
So, I guess, like, the other thing I wanted to quickly touch on, I actually skipped this, is you mentioned it's really good to have a supportive kind of work job that they're supporting you in your PhD studies and what you want to
yeah,
do. I think that's super valuable because my experience has been, I've seen both sides of the coin, specifically with this company. As you are all aware, when I joined my current company, which I'm leaving soon, the first couple of years, it was an amazing experience. I mean, when you have people that are so smart and advanced, leaders, not a boss, but leaders, you want to go and do your best for them because you're learning every day. It's like you want to
mhm,
impress them so much that um, you improve every day. You just can't sit still. Otherwise, you stagnate and you go down. And it's that environment where everyone is improving together.
yeah,
Fast forward to when we integrated with the new company that got us, and like, credit to them and everything they stand for and everything, but that experience was lost. The leaders of the company left, and I was left with a boss. And now it's all of a sudden me being the person that would do 18 to 20-hour days, let's say, sometimes, happily. Suddenly
mm,
that changed into me doing like 16, 18-hour days and being completely like tired of it and just hating my job. And every
uh,
day showing up, I felt like a robot. I had no emotion towards my job anymore. It makes such a difference when the company really invests in you as a person and seeks to improve you, seeks to make you better, versus you just being a number
yeah,
um, on some payroll. And that's unfortunately the difference that I felt. So I did make the decision to leave that company. And I think it's been the best decision yet. I still haven't left, but like, since handing in my notice, I feel relieved because that workload the workload is still there. It's a lot, but I will not give a single minute more than my 9 to 5 hours. I'm like, this is my life beyond that. You guys
yeah,
don't get that anymore because if you didn't invest in me, okay,
yeah,
regardless of it doesn't have to just be financially. It can be sit down with me and discuss growth. Where am I going to get to? Something that was previously done.
mm,
Then I don't think I should give an extra minute to my job. And I recommend no one else do that to the job unless you're really passionate about what you're doing, unless you really believe in what you're doing, you believe
yeah,
in the team, then by all means, give all the time you can.
yeah,
So yeah, the having that kind of environment at work where they support you is what really stood out from what you were saying
yeah.
when you were discussing the PhD.
Yeah, everyone could be passionate about their work, and everyone should be in a certain level, but doesn't like a company or a firm should always give something back. And I think it's very easy as us, and I consider us as kind of newly in the work industry. We haven't had, I don't know, 4 or 5 years experience, 3 years. I don't know. It's
6
not
years
but
for me.
yeah, I mean, but I still think that's quite, I think still that's
Yeah,
quite early, because if you see yourself from the first interviews where you trying to sell yourself to the company, I'm sure if you go to now to another interview, you will be sitting down there and you will let the new place sell themselves to you.
absolutely. And that's exactly how
And
it is now.
and that's the mentality now we will go into our new workplace, if that is ever going to happen. And understanding that and kind of accepting it is a very, very, very important move, because if you're always going to go to an interview and try to sell yourself more than letting the company sell, like, or the firm sell themselves to you, then you're always going to be at this kind of level of employment, which is what I call the paper pusher, in that kind of sense, where just let you do all the other stuff. And some
Yeah,
people are very happy with that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And
it's all about what you want,
uh,
what you
yes,
seek.
yes. Um, so, but I could see it when you talk about it, when we talked about it before. Next company, you're going to give them a bit of hard time in the interview, and you're going to really tell them, okay, what could you do for me? You know
And
everything
that's been the
about me,
theme. Yeah.
and
Your
what could you do for me?
experience has, like, my experience has spoken for itself, the things I have achieved. And I'm sure everyone in this stage in their career, the same stage as me, uh, we have achieved those certain things. Now it's a matter of the next company. And this is again coming from one of my prior mentors. He's like, don't look at the next job. Like, don't be focused about the next company shouldn't matter. You should be focused on the job after that. So the next company that you interview for should give you the tools to get that following job. And that is some of the best
Yeah,
advice. I mean, it's super simple, but it's some of the best advice I've ever heard. And that's why, whereas
hmm.
in year one after uni, you kind of accept everything that comes your way. And I did. I accepted a job that came my way strictly because it
Yeah,
got my foot into
exactly.
the door. Whereas there's a lot of people that I graduated with that still
Yeah,
aren't in the industry. In all fairness, whatever industry they're in, I'm sure they're happy. But I had my goal of being in the industry that I studied for. So basically
yeah.
it's a matter of like then accepting everything you can get. Now I'm extremely picky. It's like you have to sell this to me. Now I can afford to say no. I can afford to reject a position because I believe I'm worth more. I believe I can do more. And I think that's super
Yeah.
valuable for people at this stage in their careers to kind of put their foot down and say, this is what I'm worth.
No, but that's such a nice thing to hear as well, because that means, I mean, some people will think that's cockiness or they think it's arrogantness, but I think that's confident and it's security, and it's like believe in yourself, and that's where it always starts, where you could just believe
Yeah.
in yourself first, what you could do before the others. And I always admire that about you as well, that you kind of just push boundaries in that kind of way, and you just get your way in that kind of sense, and just okay, if this is not happening, because it's very easy, like in your situation, because now you're at that stage where you're just giving your 8 hours a day, but you've done that plus giving in your notice, which is like an extra step, to be honest, in my kind of sense, because any other person that doesn't have any confidence or a bit unsecure in that kind of sense would say, okay, you know what, I accept that I'm just here, I'm just going to give them 8 hours, but I'm not going to give them my notice. And then that's very easy to be kind of stuck
Yeah.
in that kind of bubble. But you know, I believe in you. All of us believe like that you're gonna find the place, and so there is no worries about that in
Yeah,
any
not at
sense.
all.
So
And I appreciate it.
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to taking a step back and actually recovering, which is super important. But that those are some of the main things I wanted to discuss, Murty. I'm definitely going to have you on way more because I think we've just like discovered like just discuss a small portion of all the things we do want to discuss. But
God,
I do
I
want to
was
say
worried. I was worried that we're not gonna have how we gonna fill this time, but I mean,
Come on, man.
ridiculous.
Um, is
Uh,
there anywhere where people can follow your work, or is there any platforms or anything where architecture related?
uh, to be honest, like there, I am absolutely so bad at it. But uh, simple Google search with my name, you see the papers I've put out and uh, the work and online portfolio, like a small portfolio that I have. But work website where you could see the works that I've worked on, but not really kind of social media or anything. Like it's really, really boring actually. But maybe I should start that. But now
You know
there
me on
is
social
most
media.
likely you are the one.
I live on social media.
You do.
Yeah. But
But
thank you
yeah.
for coming on, man. I really enjoyed speaking to you, and I'm definitely looking forward to all the future episodes we're going to do on different topics. I'm definitely going to bug you.
Thanks. Well, it was super nice, and I really enjoyed it. And I
I'm
hope to
glad.
see you
Me too,
soon.
brother. Definitely, bro.
See you later. Bye
Take
bye.
care of yourself.